What is up, YouTube? It is Homicidal Tea Time with your host, Ranee B. And we are here bringing you the, I would say, latest and greatest tea, but girl, this is from 2005, so that ain't gonna work. Let's try, we're just spilling the tea on lesser known homicide cases that have been solved, no unsolved cases here, because I like endings. And a few other cases that are strange. There's some surviving cases that I think are bizarre that are worthy of dropping tea. So let's just get right to it. This case is about Shelby Berong. She was a 21-year-old student in Las Vegas that had relocated to get closer to her family. She unfortunately was found shot in the head by her sister in the early morning hours of June 10th. And that unfolded to be quite a wild ride. Unfortunately, he didn't just take her as a victim. He dotted his path with a few more on the way. But before we get into that, just wanted to let you know that if you like this video, please hit like. And if you subscribe, you can know whenever new ones come. And I said that I was going to do a couple a week. That's not going to happen because I'm too lazy. So without much more ado, just go ahead and enjoy the video and let me know what you think. And I just feel like I need to say this. I wore these earrings. I'm going to link to them in the description because these are so much fun. Oh my God, I love them. I'm going to wear them all week. I just think it's important to say this and to show this because it's so not fair. Video isn't fair. Any sort of medium that can be concealed isn't fair because if, I'm looking at this and I'm like, what I wouldn't give to have real thick, curly, luxurious hair and be able to pile it on my head in a messy bun and all these curls and tendrils everywhere. But you're like, Ranee, you already have that. Girl, no, I don't. This is insane. It's crazy what you can do in hiding videos because my ratchet ass hair underneath, look at that. Those are all tracks. Boom, 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 boom. So I gotta show you this because it's just, if I had known this kind of trickery whenever I was younger and seeing the people in Vogue magazine and Cosmopolitan and Tiger Beat and all that stuff and thinking, why can't I be that skinny? Why can't I be that put together? Why can't I have such pretty hair? And the hair's cute. It's still coming off because I ain't got much. Okay, there's still more. There's still more. That my hair, I washed it yesterday. It ain't even washed today. I cut it myself with one of those career clips. Not quite sure how that worked out. But what you see is not always the truth. That this is my stanky hair and that's all I got. That's it. Little bitty, itty bitty. And it's got about as much curl as none. So just be careful what you wish for because, if you're wishing for the luxurious hair that you saw in the beginning of that video, you can buy it on Amazon. It's great. It's real easy to clip in. So yeah, anyway, just a word of the wise for any younger folks trying to aspire to be the fakeness that is media these days. Anyway, here's the story. All right, Shelby Berong. She was a 21-year-old girl that lived in Reno, and she wanted to move to be closer to her sister in Las Vegas. Who wouldn't at 21 years old? Oh my gosh, 2005. 21, all sorts of fun. Oh my gosh, wanderlust. You remember it. Oh, that was a fun time in your life when you could just throw abandon to the wind. Bye, Felicia. And just do whatever you wanted. It was so cool. Those were good times. But anyway, she wanted to be closer to her sister. She had two sisters, one named Chassie and one named Rachel. And she wanted to be closer. It doesn't specify which one she moved in with. So let's just say it was Rachel, maybe, because Chassie was younger. So let's just say it was Rachel, or whatever. She moves in with her sister. Everything's fun. Everything's good. And then on June 10th of 2005, Las Vegas police report a 911 call coming into dispatch at about 3:30 in the morning from a woman who said that she came in her apartment and was greeted with blood spatter everywhere. And that she went in the bedroom of her sister, the lady that she lived with, and found her lifeless body. And so detectives arrived on the scene, and they had surmised that They didn't know exactly how the lady had passed, but her name was Shelby Berong. They had interviewed some people in the apartment complex where this had happened, and one of the eyewitnesses said that there was someone that was loitering around that apartment around 2 a.m., but it wasn't anything that, seemed too weird, so he just kind of dismissed it. But he was tall, thin, darker complected, and had curly hair. So they just noted that down. And then they said that they interviewed her sister, and they had found that she had been dating a gentleman by the name of Daniel, and that he worked up at the athletic club where Shelby worked out. What's interesting is that her purse wasn't there, her keys weren't there, her cell phone wasn't there, her car wasn't there. So that's always a nice little trail of breadcrumbs that somebody may be leaving them, because it's always good whenever they take stuff like that, because when they recover it, boom, guess what? It's all you, buddy. Forensics teams later were processing the scene, and they came upon a roll of clear packing shipping tape, and then a frying pan, which was kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And then they also found a fire detector, or a fire smoke detector, that was laying down on the ground, and then a rag that looks like it had burn marks on it. So it looked like that the perpetrator had tried to start a fire to cover up evidence. They also found an open window at the back of the apartment, so they surmised that that's where the perpetrator had made entry into the apartment and basically laid in wait for Shelby to come home. That's all they had. So they decided to head over to the athletic club. And when they pull in, they find Shelby's car, her little white Kia sitting out front. It's not good for Daniel. They go inside and they interview Daniel there before taking him downtown to get a more in-depth interview. But while they're there, another detective that's at the medical examiner's office at the autopsy received a call from Shelby's place of employment, the Land Rover place where Shelby worked. And they said that there was a woman by the name of Dana there that had Shelby's wallet, Shelby's purse, Shelby's keys, and Shelby's cell phone. The plot thickens. They tell her them just to have her wait there, and that they'll come over and scoop her up and speak to her. And then they also proceed to take Daniel downtown to get a more detailed statement. Daniel at this time wasn't showing anything but signs of just shock and just being surprised of the passing of the girl. And it was a casual relationship. It wasn't anything real deep or anything. They'd just gone to a few baseball games together, hung out. Really wasn't going anywhere, but they were just basically friends. Who knows more, who knows less. So what strikes me as odd, though, is that Dana had her keys. Keys? How did she get into her apartment? I wonder if they didn't lock their apartment, because it was her sister that got there at 3 a.m. and found Shelby slain. So how did Shelby get in her apartment if Dana had her keys? So I don't know. I mean, whenever I was in college, I was very, very trusting. I was, I'll just leave the door open for you, you come in, whatever. That was real common with us. And so that might be the same thing that unfortunately may have invited the killer to choose. Who knows how long this guy had been stalking her. But anyway, Dana and Shelby had met about 3 days earlier. They had become real quick, fast friends. And you know those types of people that you meet and you just know instantly that you like. So it was kind of like that they just got along really, really well. And that they worked out together, they hung out. It was just a real fun new relationship with her and Dana. So they had met up at the athletic facility in the early morning hours of June 10th, 2005, because Dana's sister had a table at the Wynn Casino. I don't know if it was back then, but I know whenever I went to the Wynn Casino, the club there was Blush, and that was a cool club. I have to admit, that was real cool, because I went there in 2006, so I don't know if it was Blush at the time, but oh my gosh, that place was, tables, you get a table, you had bottle service. It was so much fun. Vegas is so much fun. But anyway, I digress. This isn't about me. Shut up. But they went to go see Dana's sister, and they had a blast. And then I'll put in some pictures here that just shows how beautiful Shelby was. Oh my gosh, she just looked like she was a good time, fun, not, you know, real overly concerned about her appearance, didn't wear that much makeup. Ironically, I'm talking about that, but she didn't have to. She was just stunning on her own. So she just seemed like a real fun, sweet girl. And seems like most of those people that we talk about are. But I digress again. Well, they decided about 2-ish that they want to go work out. I was just getting smashed in the clubs. But maybe normal people don't get obliterated when they go to the club. I don't know, but well, I'm just judging on my own experiences. But what they had done is they decided to go to Shelby's apartment, and they'd left Shelby's car at the gym whenever they met up, and they took Dana's car to Blush or whatever the club's name was at the time. And so Dana was waiting for Shelby to just sprint into her apartment and grab some workout clothes. So Dana sat there and sat there and sat there and sat there. She watched, she'd watched Shelby run in or whatever. And so she could kind of see which apartment it was, but she wasn't sure. But it was the only one who had lights on. So she thought that, you know, well, okay, this must be it. So she goes to the door and she knocks on the door. And she tries to, you know how you stand outside of an apartment and you look through the peephole and see if you can see movement or whatever? Well, so it looked like somebody was blocking the peephole. So she was like, well, girl don't want to be bothered, then I ain't going to bother her. So she just went ahead and left. And it wasn't until that next morning that she took her purse and her keys and her cell phone to where she worked that she had learned about her unfortunate death. Daniel had been working all night at the club. So when they questioned him, he was absolutely, genuinely shocked and concerned. So he was ruled out as a suspect pretty quick. He had a pretty tight alibi because, you know, as anybody who has ever had a gym membership knows, they monitor that stuff like anybody wants to steal exercise. For some reason, you have to scan in and has a picture that comes up. And everybody, I mean, ain't nobody stealing exercise, but they're very cautious about that for some reason. So whatever, you do you. But, so they ruled out Daniel pretty quick. They had nothing. They had nothing but this fingerprint that they ran through APHIS. Nothing. Well, okay then. 2 weeks after detectives initially had gone to the apartment where Shelby had been sexually assaulted and murdered, and I don't know if I included that earlier. Unfortunately, they didn't get DNA from it, so that's why I didn't really include it, but that was a factor in her murder, that she was sexually assaulted. But so 2 weeks later, they had received a phone call from the fingerprint department, or the, you know, the print division, stating, boom, we got a hit on that case from 2 weeks ago. It was what they call a walkthrough or class 2 arrest. The guy came in, got printed, got his mugshot. Bing. Yeah, that's him. Sound or look familiar? Remember that guy that saw him outside? Tall, darker complected, curly hair, thin build. Yikes. Well, it was a walkthrough, so they booked him, printed him, released him. Shit. Well, the name that came up was Eduardo Jeffrion, that's it. Eduardo Jeffrion. That didn't pull up anything in their databases. So they were trying to find out who this guy was, and he had no prior arrest, no address whatsoever. And then they pulled up like driver's license and different databases like that. Nothing. They couldn't find anything on this guy. So that led them to believe that this must have been an alias. Well, they are detectives. So they decided to use some other databases. And when they did that, they pulled up the incident that Eduardo had been arrested on that night and released subsequently. And it was an Asian female that was at the location that he had caused the disturbance. Shelby was an Asian female. There's starting to be some pieces here that are locking in together. Well, when they ran a search on that female's name, it comes up with that she was a witness to one of her relatives being assaulted by someone named Archibald Hall. They ran a search on Archibald Hall, and that turns out to be the correct name. So they go ahead and they do it's not really a bolo, because I think they do bolos on cars, but they do a patrol-wide notification at the meeting whenever shift changes, and say, you know, be on the lookout for this guy. He's armed and dangerous. He's been involved in, you know, not one, but two, you know, very violent attacks, and now is a suspect in a homicide. And so at that point, the patrol is fanning out and looking and trying to make sure that they can grab this guy up before anything happens. And then 9:30 a.m. Ring dispatch gets a call of a assault in progress. And a little girl had called, and I say little girl, she's 19, but you know, she's little to me, whatever. She had called and said that somebody was in the process of attacking her sister with a gun and sexually assaulting her, and she needed police to be on the scene immediately. Police were immediately dispatched to the address, and when they got there, they found one female who had been fatally shot in the head, and her name was Rinnah Esteban. They also found her sister in the closet that had been, she said that she had been attempted to have been raped, but she luckily fought off her attacker and was able to keep him from doing so. But in the process, he beat the living shit out of her. So what had happened was that he had done this, and she had fought him off successfully. And after, so he had walked outside and just sat on the steps. I guess he was just waiting for the police. Who knows? But when the policeman approached him, he shot once, and it grazed the policeman in the head and left a gunshot. They said it was a gunpowder wound, but that doesn't sound right. I think it was just well, not just, but I think it was a grazing wound, which still sucks. But as Archibald Hall was trying to flee, he turned around and began looking like he was going to fire. At that point, the officer shot 4 times, and was a very good shot because he hit all 4 times, hit Archibald in the torso. When the detectives from Shelby's case arrived on the scene, they asked the surviving victim if she recognized the photo of Archibald Hall, and she said, yes, that's Barrington Hall, and his actual name was Barrington Archibald Hall, and he was pronounced dead on the scene. Now, once they started going through the backpack that he left behind, they found ropes, zip ties, handcuffs, a pair of women's underwear. They also found a string of wooden beads that were later identified to be Shelby's. So this guy had, you know, so during the autopsy on Barrington or Archibald or whatever the hell his name was, who cares, the murderer, they found that he had traces of methamphetamine in his system. So I guess apparently they were trying to say he was because he was high on speed, but trust me, old girl has partied in her life, and I never felt like raping nobody. Anyway, the interesting postscript to this is that while Rinnah Esteban and her sister had been victimized by this guy, and then Shelby loses her life as well, her sister that lived with her is traumatized. Their other sister, I'm assuming, because I can't find who she lived with, but that sister was found unresponsive in her sorority house where she was pledging. And that was in September of 2005, September 10th, I believe, because Shelby was murdered on June 10th, and it was just September when she was found unresponsive. So this poor family has had to go through some stuff, severe trauma and loss and pain, and just, and you know, I mean, whenever you go through such things, it's good to have, you know, your family to lean on and understand what you're going through. But then to have another member of that same very family taken from you. And it was natural causes from everything I can find. It seemed to be something cardiac or neurological in nature. It doesn't ever actually say what it was, but it was just 1 minute she was laughing, talking on the phone, eating, no big deal. And then all of a sudden she just dropped. And they said that she'd given no signs that she was even ill or anything. So they don't know. They never followed up with what it was, but by that I could surmise that. I'm using that word a lot. By that I could, but by that I took away that there was no criminal involvement. And it makes me wonder if possibly just all the stress from having to go through what she just went through with her sister. That could definitely do it to you. I mean, that had to be a hard pill to swallow. When you look at the memorial stone for Shelby, it's just a little jarring to see another name right under it of just a few months difference. Probably 18 months. I didn't count them, but just 18 months different from when they're born, and then just a few short months to the day different when they died. It's just, it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely a tragedy for that family. So, and I'm going to post some pictures of her sister. On the article that I found online, when it talks about her and her sister, it says that they used to joke to see how many people would think that they were twins because they did look that alike. So, and then that picture I just posted right there, you can really see the resemblance. It's uncanny. So they later did find that DNA taken from the scene from the tape that they had the fingerprint on did contain DNA that matched Archibald Barrington, whatever the hell his name was. And so they did have their case closed. But I mean, like, what does that really do? What does that mean? Is that closure? I mean, do you ever get closure from something like this? It just seems like to me that it's just, you have to just accept it and hurt. It's really not fair for this family, and my heart goes out to them. There's not much on there because this was 2005 and before the internet really, I think then Google had just really started. I know that I was using Alta Vista for a hot minute as a search engine. I didn't even know Google was around, so I don't know how well things were cataloged back then, but that's all I could find on her was just a couple of articles and references. So if you guys know any more details about, especially Chassis death, just let me know in the comments, because I'd hate that she had such a short time on earth after her sister had departed, because it just seems like there would have been so much more to live for and so much more to experience and in honor of her sister, and that she was unable to do that. So it just really is, I wonder how Rachel's doing now. That's a big thing to carry with you and a big hole in your heart to have to move forward with. I hope that she definitely gets peace somehow through it. So that's just a real sad story. But and I still go back to those keys though. That's kind of weird, isn't it? I don't know. When I was younger, I didn't lock my door. I didn't care about much. I just thought that the world was great and that everybody was wonderful and that you could trust anyone to come to your house and spend the night. I used to meet people at bars and like, instant friends, come over, hang out. We can go to breakfast tomorrow morning and go shopping and then go out again. And to tell them how many serial killers or murderers I've had sleep over. Not anymore. It's to the point now where I'm like, why do people have welcome mats? Because you ain't welcome at my house. Don't stop by. Don't chat much. Don't hang out. I don't want you here. I'm cool with me and my dogs and my husband. And that's it. Don't bother me. Mailman, Amazon, you can leave it right there. Don't talk to me. It's funny how in your older age, you become more standoffish. You know, I saw some comments in the Bailey Sarian fan group on Facebook that I'm a member of, and those girls are like, this girl posted some thing where she did lipstick and she had a line around it, and they're like, that's so dated. Oh my gosh, you need to not line your lips in a darker color. Girl, you do you. I think if you got it and you like it, then you do it. So in honor of her, we're gonna add some highlighter to the middle of our lips and make our lips not just ombre, but contrasted, just in honor of that one user that thought it'd be great to tell people how to do their makeup. Now, you do you. If you like it and you think it looks good, then you strut it, girl. Anyway, so here you go. Here you go, fancy lady. This one's for you. It's going to take me a while to put some layers on this, so I'm probably just going to all of a sudden have highlighted lips. Woo. Mm-hmm. There you go. Not only are they highlighted, they're blue too. Not even a natural lip color. So one day I hope that you'll see this and see that whenever you're confident, no matter what it is, you can flaunt it. Okay, and until our next story, if you liked this one and if you want to know how I did this look, just look down in the info description, whatever, and I'm going to list all the products that I use. And I got a couple more. Uh-oh, I did a smacky there. You'll see that edit. I've got a couple more that I'm researching. I said I was going to try to do them every week or 2 in a week. That's hard. And Brittany, my girl, if you haven't watched her, you need to. She is doing 2 a week. I wish I could. It's not that I don't have time. It's just that I don't want to because it's a lot. It's harder than you think. You really should try it if you're watching this because it's hard. It is very difficult because you want to get all up in your mirror or all up in your notes. And then you realize you gotta look at a TV, but then you got a monitor over here. What's my face look like? What's my makeup look like? What's the camera look like? What's my notes look like? What's my mirror look like? Where's my stuff? It's a lot. And like somebody ADD like me, I mean, like I need to have like an IV drip of Adderall because this is a little bit more difficult than I thought. But peace be with Shelby, Chassie, and Rinnah, and her sister. I didn't get her sister's name from the report, so... But I hope that all... And the one that got assaulted, we don't even know. That was just listed as the... on that report. Isn't that weird, though, to think that that girl is probably wondering what she did to deserve being assaulted by this piece of shit. And it was actually instrumental in finding him and keeping it from happening to one more person. Unfortunately, he took 2 people with him, but... That one report, because it listed that female's name when he got arrested, is the girl that basically helped solve the case. So whoever you are out there, I don't even know if you will ever see this, but that's why you went through that. It's weird whenever we go through some bullshit, how it's, why am I going through this? Why is this happening? Such a crazy ripple effect, isn't it? But anyway, until then, I will see you guys on the next one, and you guys be good. Talk to y'all later. Bye. Racing stripes.